All right, am I correct now? Everybody is now all caught up, right? You've got the data in, etc. All right, so we're going to go on then. So what I want you to do, if this is the way your screen looks, and hopefully it is, all right, I want you to right mouse click on the models folder, and I want you to choose Add and New Item. Right click on the models folder, choose Add, and choose New Item. Now, in mine, data is automatically selected. Yours may be the same. Yours may have something else. If your screen does not look like my screen, then check the data entry over here. All right? And what we want to choose is the top one, ADO.NET Entity Data Model. Let's be a little better than normal. And what I mean is, we could keep it called Model 1, but that's just really not a good name. All right? Why don't we just call it Rankin Model? One word, all glued together. Again, when you are out there in the field and you're creating your own stuff, of course, you call it whatever you want to call it. But it should be something at least somewhat reflective of what you're doing. All right? So if you've done that and you click Add, what should start up is the Entity Data Model Wizard. You have seen this before. And if you say, yeah, it's kind of like the project we did last time. Yes, it is. There are two ways, again, that you can do these projects. You can set up the database first and then have a bunch of stuff filled in for you. Or you can do the classes first and then have the database. The example we did last week was very simplistic. And it was very simplistic on purpose. You're probably doing more work just putting in the bootstrap classes and the etc. than you actually did. Here we're going to do a little bit more work than we did last time. All right, and then again next week, ideally, all right, what we're going to do then is we're going to do another project like this Monday and Tuesday, but we're going to do code first instead of, all right, so next week when we do this, we're going to be choosing one of these two options. Empty code first model or code first from database. But for now, this is the one that comes up on mine by default, probably is the one that comes up from yours by default. If EF Designer from database is not chosen, then make sure you click on it so it is chosen and click on Next. Now, I've got a question. Does everybody have something inside of here? Is anyone's empty? You have to tell me. It should be filled in for you, and it's got all of the connection information in there for you. All right? It should have all of that information in there for you. All right? And if you look on here, it says, what data connection do you have? Well, the only one that's there is the database. All right? What we're going to do, let's see if we have to click new connection first. I want to double check, so. Yeah. We could click new connection, but it's already set up. It should already be set up for Microsoft SQL Server database file. And you may or may not know this, but if you don't look on the screen, please. Notice on here it says right here, and it's got, you know, for click change, etc. If you choose this one instead, just the Microsoft SQL Server, that's usually the one you check if you're not doing something local. So if you'd be sending it out to an actual server, we're not at this time. All right? So we should just be able to do it from right here, to my knowledge at least. We'll find out. Hold on. There should have been another step in here. I'm trying to figure out what happened. Boom, boom. I think we're okay. So if you are right here, which you probably are because I told you to stay there, go ahead and click next. If this doesn't work, we'll go back and we'll redo it. It's no biggie. All right, so we'll click next here. All right, and from right here, I find it tends to work best if you click the arrow here by tables and click the one by DBO, and now click in the box by tables and make sure all of those are highlighted. All right. You know, again, I can make jokes about this being a Microsoft product or whatever, but I'm taking control right here to make sure that everything looks the way I want it to look. All right. If you've got all that, then you should be able to just click Finish. All right, and if you look here, this is how mine looks. Yours may or may not look like this. But I find that hard to read, so I'm going to click on the bottom one that's up here, and I'm going to move it so it's by the other ones. You don't have to do that. The program doesn't work any better. I just like to be able to see everything at one time. All right? Now, what I'm going to show you next, don't do this, but I want to show you something. In a little bit, it may not happen today, we may not get to it till tomorrow, but we're going to go back to our student table. All right, we're going to go back to it. We're going to add another field. We're not going to have just last name, first name, but we're going to add middle name. Okay? We're not going to do that now. I don't want to do it now. But the point is, if you look up on the screen here, what's going to happen is after we go in and we add that new field, this will not be updated. Okay? So if we want to update that, and again, don't do this yet, we'll do it later. We will be able then to right mouse click on the name of the table and choose Update Model from Database. All right? Now, the other way that you can do it is you can just click in here and click Update Model from Database, and then you can tell it to either update every table or just a table or any two tables. We're not worried about that. So since I moved this table, if you look up on the screen here, since I moved that table from down below to here, I have to save this. If you didn't move yours, that's fine, but then you don't have to save. But I'm going to save first, and then I'm going to close this as soon as it stops twirling around. All right, now I should be able to close this. Should be able to close that. Yes, I did save mine already, and you should too. Okay, everybody still with me? And I will tell you that out of these 7, before the break, all we went through was lesson 1. All right? What we just did right now in the first 5 minutes, 10 minutes, that was lesson 2. All right? So hopefully at least it'll go a little faster from right now. Okay? That's my hope at least. So if you still have that entity model open, please close it so your screen looks more like this. And now we're going to go in and we're going to generate our views. So when we started, right now we have just those controllers, the ones we were given by default. Then we went in and did some model work. Now we're going to go in and do some view work. All right? And again, the way that we're going to do this is we're going to use scaffolding like we did last time. All right, I still think that's the easiest way of doing it because it writes a lot of the code for you. Later on, we're going to be modifying that code. All right. Also, what you'll notice when we do this is that we're going to go in and we're going to add scaffolding. There's 3 tables here. Okay, everybody look on the board. I wrote that. If you had to guess, if I told you we're going to have to add scaffolding for 2 out of the 3 tables, which table do you think we won't have to add scaffolding for? Okay, you want to guess again? Enrollment? Why?
Because it has connection.
Because it's basically a lookup table. Yeah, I'd rather have you guess and be wrong than not guess at all. All right. So what we want to do now is we want to right mouse click on our controllers folder. All right. And we're going to choose add and new scaffolded item. So if you're a little behind, look up on the screen. Right mouse click on controllers, choose add and choose scaffolded item. So even if your machine is a little slower, hopefully that all made enough sense that you were able to do that. And if I am going too fast, those of you who have slower machines, you got to let me know too, okay? I'm not trying to. So I'm going to choose new scaffolded item. And it comes up, and just like we did last week, we are going to choose MVC5 controller with views using Entity Framework. This is going to generate the controller and the views for us, so we're able to do CRUD. Create, all right, read, update, delete. In other words, insert, select, update, and delete. All right, so make sure that's the one that's chosen. All right, the only ones I've ever used, I've never done anything with Web API, so I'd be lying if I told you I have. If you did go with empty, you'd have to put all the code in yourself. All right, and if you went in with view, as it says, a view with or without a strongly typed model. So it's assuming that you've already got some of the model work done. We don't, so we're choosing this. All right. And did you notice, I'm not going to do it, but if you look on the bottom of the screen, it says, click here to go online and find more scaffolding extensions. So if you wanted a little bit more information, you could click there. All right, but this is the one that I want, so I'm going to click Add. And what should come up is this Add Controller dialog box. If you think you did everything right, but this box did not come up, then you have to raise your hand. And maybe it didn't come up, like you said, because you've got a slower machine, but if it doesn't eventually come up. Now, what we want to choose here is we want to go down to our model class, and let's do students first, or find student down here. All right? So if you use the same name I did, yours should be student and then MVC2.model. And down here, we should be choosing this, the RTC, whatever. Again, you may have used different names than mine. All right? And if you use different names, then your names that you see in here will not be the same as my names are. All right? The rest of the stuff that's in there, by and large, you will keep and just use the defaults. This is going to build a controller for us, and that controller, as you can see down here, is going to be named Students Controller. All right? So, click Add, and that should build it. There was an error, okay? If you got that, it's a good thing. All right, try it and see if you get an error also. The same box I did, all right? The reason that we got the error is because the system is behind, literally. So click OK, and this is up right here. Just cancel it for now. We're going to bring it right back up because it's going to work in 15 seconds. How do I know that? All you have to do is you have to click first Build Solution. You don't have to run the program. Click Build and Build Solution. And you should get a message if you look in your output window down here. Eventually that should come up and say that one succeeded, like mine does here. This is one of those teaching moments that I'm able to show you, hey, you've got to be, the system does fall behind. So now what you should notice is if we right mouse click on controllers, choose add, all right, the same way we did this before. All right, so right mouse click, choose add, all right. Run through the same exact steps that we ran through before. New scaffolded item, MVC5 controller with views using entity framework. Click add, which will bring up this again. Now, same thing, go down to student. And in here, choose for data context class. Click the down arrow and choose RTC or whatever you called yours. All right. Now, when you do that and you click add, it should work. I'll leave mine up there for a second. Again, yours might not have those names if you didn't use the same names I used. In here, you do not want to choose application DB context. Okay? You want to choose the other one. Now, what you're going to notice, because in just a minute, we're going to do the one for course. This will be filled in already for us. That will be. So after you do it once, it gets filled in for you. The system will default to it. All right? And we have students controller right here. Now if we click add, we should not get an error. All right, so that's built. You can see it built a bunch of code for us. All right. And you can also see, if you look right here under controllers, we now have students controllers.cs. You should see that there also. And guess what? I get to say a good thing, and that is, you know what? I mean, you were right and I was wrong. It is enrollment. That's the one that we're going to do next. It's not course. So you were right and I was wrong. All right. So what we're going to do here is we're going to basically replicate what we just did. So if you look up here, I'm going to close that. I'm going to again right mouse click on controllers. I'm going to again click new and new scaffolded item. All right, the same exact thing that we just did. All right, and underneath here, we want again new scaffolded item. All right, just like we just did, again, we want MVC5 controller with views using entity data or entity framework. We want to click add. That'll bring this up again. There it is. And you notice that the data context is filled in. We want to go down here and we want to choose enrollment. All right. After you've got that, it looks the way you think it should. It says it's about to create a new controller named Enrollments Controller, which you notice is not here. There is not one here named Enrollments Controller. After I click add, and it'll take a couple seconds, but after it does, then you should notice there should be an Enrollments Controller. And it's there. All right, we're not going to change that code or do anything to that right now. So I can close that. But if you look up on the screen, please, you notice now we've got an enrollments controller and a students controller. If you please look up on the screen, you may or may not have noticed this, but we now have an enrollments views and a students views. Those were created for us with what we just did. All right, we're going to make some changes and the like to that stuff soon, but not right now. All right, we're going to do one more thing, and then we're going to be ready to run this program for the first time. All right, that one thing is, and again, this is what they had you do in the book. I think I know, I'm starting to understand why sometimes these authors do things the way they do. But we want to go underneath, if you look up on the screen here, we want to find in our Views folder, under Views, we want to go to Home, and under Views Home, we want to open up the index.cs HTML file. All right, so again, we wanted to go under Views, Home, index.cs HTML. All right?
Do we not scaffold the course one?
No, you don't have to. I don't think it would have hurt a bit to do that, but we didn't have to. Now, you know the stuff that's in here. This is the stuff I had you change for your last assignment. So this is where we said to-do list and all that good stuff. All right? Well, the way we did this in the past is, if you remember, we went in and we added 2 new links, correct? We're not going to do it that way this time. That's not the way they do it. And like I said, I think I understand what the author is about here. But what we're going to do is right underneath the Jumbotron, okay, look up on the screen. Notice the Jumbotron is in a div. So right underneath the div to end the Jumbotron, go ahead and hit enter a couple times. We're going to put in another div here, right there. And we are going to use in this div what are referred to as HTML helpers. All right? Now, one thing you may or may not have noticed, and I talked about this earlier, not today, but in another class period, is we're not sitting there and using, in web forms, we drag those controls out, right? We're not doing that now. But we can use an HTML helper, and with this HTML helper, we're going to add 2 of them right now. We're going to have 2 hyperlinks that are going to go right under our Jumbotron. And one of them is going to say list of students, and the other one is going to say list of enrollments. And when we click the hyperlinks, what's going to happen then is it's going to go right to those particular models that we just set up. All right? So, underneath here, we're going to say this. We start, remember, if it's Razor code, we start it with an @ sign. So at HTML dot action link. All right, then in parentheses, list of students, comma, index, comma, students. Well, that index has got to be in double quotes. My error.
You spelled students wrong and list of students.
You're right. Well, the hyperlink would have just said list of students, but you are correct. And you don't have to do this, but I'm going to just copy it, so I hopefully don't screw it up again. All right. And the second one is going to say list of enrollments. And this one will instead say enrollments. I will give you a second to type that in, and then let's go back and talk about exactly what this means. Again, this is going to create for us 2 hyperlinks. Both of them right underneath the Jumbotron, one underneath the other one. The first hyperlink will say list of students. When you click that one, it will call the index.html that's associated with the student's controller. So in other words, where is it? Well, we've got enrollments here. So this enrollments, when we click that, and I spelled that wrong too. When we click that, it's going to call this file. All right? The whole idea behind using Model View Controller is, more than anything else, it's kind of like a roadmap where you have to tell people what links together with what. All right? So if you have all that in like I do, and hopefully you spelled everything right, I didn't misspell index, and Tiffany brought up a really good point. If you look, I spelled students wrong here, and I spelled enrollments wrong here. That's the name of the hyperlink. So both of my hyperlinks would have errors in them, but it would still work fine because that's and that are the key ones. Those are the names of the controllers. Those have to be spelled right. So if I left the D off of here or I put an extra S in there, I'd get an error. If I spelled index wrong, I'd get an error. But I want that to be students, and I want that to be enrollments with one S. So again, with the first one under students, that's going to call this file right here. That file. You don't have to click on it, I did. All right? So that's going to call, and it's going to have my CRUD stuff in it. When I do the other one, it's going to bring up this one under enrollments. So it's going to bring up that one. Not that. All right. Go ahead and save all. Let's try to run it. If it doesn't come up to your home page, you might have to iterate your way back to your home page. Notice mine's on the enrollments page. That's fine. Yours may be under enrollments. Yours might be someplace else. And I've got, as you can see, I got a lot of stuff open because I'm doing some stuff for tomorrow already, and I think that's one of the reasons that it's so slow right now. Does that look familiar? Again, the names aren't, might not look familiar, but I can go back to home, and from my home page, come on, go back home, would you? See, it's thinking about it. From my home page, I now have, I guess I didn't put a line break in there, and I should have. All right. So I can go to list of students, or I can go to list of enrollments. And notice I have, so I can go in there and change either one now. And as mentioned before, the question was asked, why are those question marks in there? The answer I gave was, I don't know. But now I can click edit. I can come in here, and I can remove that question mark. And I can click save. Then I can go over to Colin and click edit. Boom. Get rid of that and click save. If I want to, I can add a new record now. So I can click create new. You'll notice I've got all this stuff in there for me. So I'll put in myself. You shouldn't really put you in there because you're in there already. So you really shouldn't put yourself in there again. You want to put me in or put in some mythical person, that's fine. And I'll put in today's date. Oops. So I put me in there as a new student, click create, and I should be at the bottom now. And I am. Does it make sense to everybody? I won't have any courses. I won't have anything under, I'm there now under students, but I'm not there under enrollments because I didn't put anything in. All right. And notice that if I go back to home here and I go over to my list of enrollments and I click create new, notice what we have. If you take a look here, I've got my course IDs and I've got my student IDs, but we didn't tell it to show the student ID. We told it to show the student's last name because it's much easier to go that way. All right. So I could go back and make any changes in there that I wanted to make as well. All right, I'm not going to make any changes, so I'm just going to go back to list. All right, and you don't have to do this, but for now, I'm going to stop the run. All right, why? I want to show you why right now. I'm going to go back and stop the run here. Okay, I'm going to save all. All right, I'm going to go back again to my database. You don't have to do this, but I want to show you something. Again, I'm going back to my database. I'm going to refresh. Under tables, I'm going to go to student, right mouse click, and choose show table data. Why? You'll notice because now I'm in here, and the question mark by Anthony and the question mark by Colin are both gone. It is totally possible, plausible. I can now change data either by, if I want to get rid of this one, I can click on here and literally tell it to remove it. Or I can go back to my interface. You might find it confusing if you do both of them and you keep going back and forth. We are creating an interface so we don't have to go back to our database. Does that make sense to everybody? This interface that we're creating, now a data entry person who doesn't know a lick about databases does not have to. All right? And that's typically why you would do something like this. All right? So we went in, we displayed the student view, and I showed you. Now, one thing you may or may not have noticed, we're going to fix this in a later lesson. I'm going to go back and I'm going to run mine again, so if yours is running, great. But if you look right here, mine's going to bring it up again in enrollments because that's what I had when I started here. Hopefully everybody knows this. I'm going to let it come up. All right, but I'm just going to type in here home, just home, and hit enter. That worked again because it defaults to the index page for home. That's the same thing as if I came in here and typed in home/index. If I hit enter, nothing will change because it's the exact same thing. All right. Now the only thing I want to change, I don't have to, but I'm going to go back over to my list of students. I don't want me in there. I'm not a student. So I'm going to delete. Please look on the screen. All right. That's pretty nice. It gives me warning. It tells me exactly what I'm about to delete. Now, if I say delete, it is gone. So when you look right here, it's gone. I'm not going to bring it up, but if I brought it up under my SQL Server window, it'd be gone from there too. I might have to refresh the table, but it'll be gone. All right. The other thing, and it's not a big thing, but again, just because you know how I am, and that is I'm going to come back here. Again, you don't have to do this. You can, depends on how you put yours in. But I'm going to close this, and I'm going to close this. Okay. And I'm going to go back. What did I just add here? Under home index. Okay. I'm looking here. I've got list of students. Trying to figure out why I had those semicolons on the end, but I did, and I think I need these here. If I want to, look, if you look here, put a BR tag in if I want them on different lines. That should work. I didn't even do that for mine, but I don't no idea why it wouldn't work.
If you take out the semicolons, it doesn't give any.
Yeah, you don't need the semicolons. You are correct. You don't get any errors. I'm just used to since, but think of why we don't need the semicolons. That's HTML. We're writing it using a razor command, but it's HTML. So Tiffany is correct. Technically, putting the semicolons in there is wrong. All right, now we'll have that. We'll have these on different lines. When we did this last time, we actually had them come up as different pages. All right, and we added the links in here. Well, not here, but remember, we added the links onto our home page, basically. All right, now we're doing it a different way. Does it really matter? It depends on, the interface and et cetera that you're looking for. So again, we looked at this, and hopefully that was enough for you that you got to look at the student view and you got to look at the enrollment view. That's part 3. And again, when I look on here in mine, those semicolons should be gone, and the 2 hyperlinks should each be on their own respective lines. There they are, and the semicolons are gone. All right. All right. Let's charge on, because this next thing will not take long at all. I'm just telling you, it really and truly won't. We want to go back to our database and we want to add a column into our database. All right. If you have the program running like I do, please stop the run. All right. And when you go back and you're back to here, please make sure again this isn't running. And we can literally have everything here closed. Anything that you've got open, you can close. So again, yours should look pretty much like this. Okay. Now what we want to do is we want to come in and put in a middle name field. All right, so that will be in our students table. So if you look on the screen here, I am going to right mouse click on my tables under student, and I'm going to choose open table definition. And if it comes up and it looks like this, it'll take a second, it'll catch up. Remember this? This is what we did when we started. Again, I'm going to suggest that you just come into the Transact SQL window, hit enter. I'm going to literally just copy my first name and put it in, but put it in as middle name. It's much easier to do that than to have to dink around, all right? Now, I'm going to tell you something, too, that maybe is going to drive you a little nuts. This is the way it looks in the database. Would you all agree? This is not the way it's going to look when we run it. Okay? The middle name will come after the enrollment date. Don't worry about that for right now. All right? But it will. So we came in there. We made that change. You all know this already, that when we do this, we want to update, right? So we want to click the update button. That's not a big change, so it shouldn't have changed anything in here. Then we want to click Update Database. All right. Then we can close this. And believe it or not, we're half done already with this lesson. There wasn't that much to do in here. All right. So the new column now exists in our table. You don't have to do this. Please look on the screen, though. If I right mouse click and I choose Show Table Data, they're all null because we allowed for nulls, and since we put the data in already, there's no data in there for those names. I don't know any of your middle names. Not to be mean, I don't care. I could go out if I wanted to and look, under your rank and stuff that I've got, and probably I could find them out, but I don't really care. It was just to show you that you can add a new field. If you want to, you can always go back in there and do an edit and add your own if you want to do that. Okay? All right. Now, yours probably wasn't open, but what we want to do is, if you look on the screen here, we want to find, and I never remember where this stuff is. All right, but is it under models? Yes, it is. All right. Under models, so I'm going to close everything else that I've got open here, so I'm trying not to confuse you. All right. So open up your models folder. Oops, not the views. Open up the models folder, and under the models folder, you should find this file that we did before that had the 3 different rectangles in it. And mine is called rankandmodel.edmx, this one. And please look at the model. Look at your screen, or look at the screen up here, or look at your own screen. What you'll notice is if you look in student, there's no middle name in there because we've updated the database, but we have not updated the associated EDMX file, the associated entity database model file that's right here. So we're going to do that right now. All right? So we are going to right mouse click. You can do it anywhere. Most people like to just grab an empty spot up here, right mouse click and choose Update Model from Database. And if it brings this up, this update wizard, that's a good thing. All right. What we want to do then is we don't want to add anything. We don't want to delete anything. All right, but we want to click the refresh tab. And the idea is if we were changing all of the tables, if we had made changes to all of them, we could just click finish right now. Or we could just click tables. But there's only one table that's been updated. So I'm going to click the arrow here. All right, that's interesting. And under DBO, what I'm going to find here is just the student one. And I'm going to click like that. That's the only one we've changed. I'm not asking you, I'm telling you. That is the only one that we've changed. So with that highlighted, I'm going to click finish. And lo and behold, if you look on the screen or your screen, the middle name should be in there now. All right. That's the good news, but there's still a little bit, for lack of better words, there's still a little bit of bad news. All right, I'm going to save this. And I'm going to close my entity database model file here. Boy, this is taking a long time. There we go. So I'm going to close this. You don't have to do this, but please look up on the screen right now. All right, you don't have to do this. I'm going to do, I just did a save all, so I'm going to run this. You don't have to run yours. All right, it's loading in here right now. Once it loads, I watch a lot of tapes on the Microsoft channel, and they got a guy who, whenever this is happening and if his machine is slow, he'll just sit there and he goes, chugga, 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 chugga. And you just want to reach through the screen and smack him. And he's really good. He really knows his stuff. But, so, notice if I go over to list of students. All right, you see what's missing? What? You're shaking your head. I mean, what's not there? Middle name. Because what happened is we updated the database first, then we updated the entity relationship database, the model, but the view doesn't automatically update. It's not built into the software. So there's two things that we can do. All right, and actually what I'm going to tell you to do will sound harder, but I think it's more foolproof. All right. So to update the views, we have two options. We can either regenerate the views, or we can manually add the property to our existing view. So we could go into the view file and manually add it. That's not the suggested way of doing it. What if you made multiple changes? It would be very easy for you to screw something up. I don't mean you, I mean anybody. I know I probably would. All right. So to do this, though, and it actually looks a little bit weird. Okay, so the first thing we have to do is we have to go over to our Views folder, right here. And under our Views folder, okay, we've got to find where it says Students. See that? So I'm under Views, Students. Everybody understand? All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to right mouse click, and I'm going to delete the folder. It does ask me, yeah, boom, it's gone. Well, come on, there, it's gone. So we now no longer have that there. All right. Then the next thing you have to do is go up to your controllers, and we also have to remove our student's controller. So right mouse click on that under controllers, again click delete, again we get a message, say okay. All right. Well, you should know what we're doing next because you've done it before twice already. We are right mouse clicking on controllers. We are choosing add. We are choosing new scaffolded item. And we're going to go through the same procedure we just did. So right mouse click on your controllers folder, choose add, choose new scaffolded item. Again, we want to choose MVC5 controller with views using Entity Framework. Click Add. We want to come back again and go down to Student like we did before. The context is already chosen for us. Again, it's Students Controller. We click Add. That should make the new controller here. Although it's not showing it. It's taking its time to update. All right, there's our Students Controller. And we've got our new students down on the bottom here. All right. And I'm going to run the program again. Probably should have saved. And actually, it's never a bad idea after you make changes like this to build first, because build makes sure that all of the files that are the system files are all updated. So I really should have done that first. It should still work, but so when you make major changes, you really should be doing a build first. All right, save and do a build, then go in and do your run. All right, I'm going to click my hyperlink for list of students. And look what's in there now. Middle name. It's not in the right spot. Okay. But that's now in there. That was lesson 4 of 7. All right. Now it's a little early, but I think you deserve a break. So it's 2:47. Let's come back at 3 o'clock, please. We'll do 1 or 2 more of these, and then at least 1 more, because the next one's very short. If we have time, we'll do 2 more. That'll give us all tomorrow to work on the Azure stuff. All right? So again, let's take a break. Come back, please, at 3 o'clock.